the Hong Kong Racing Preview Show, having a look ahead to the final Group 1 of the season at Sha Tin. It is the Hong Kong Champions and Chater Cup coming up over the mile and a half. Just a reminder, we are now on YouTube, so don't forget to like, comment, share and subscribe to this channel. You don't want to miss anything happening right around the world right throughout the year. Welcoming in Jim McGrath to talk about this Sunday's card from Sha Tin. And Jim, I know you've seen the Champions and Chater Cup run many a time over the decades. This Champions and Chater Cup, it is an interesting race in the Hong Kong calendar.
It certainly is, Andrew. It's really, over the years, as you say, I've seen many of them, and quite a few of them are very lacklustre, small fields and not much interest. But this is chock full of interest. There are some really good staying types here. And when I say staying, I mean by Hong Kong standards. By European standards, a mile and a half is not a staying trip. It's a middle distance.
So the first of the four races we are going to look at Sha Tin on Sunday is the Standard Chartered Champions and Chater Cup, Group 1 race over the 2,400 metres. As you said, Jim, not many of these races over this mile and a half trip in Hong Kong. But this year you've got a few horses that have won at the trip, including a couple of past winners of this race in Russian Emperor and also Panfield. But unlikely that they're going to hold favouritism with Romantic Warrior taking his place in this lineup.
Yeah, and the big question is, does he stay? Can he get that mile and a half? Look, the way he's won those 2,000 metre races, and we've known, you just look at his record, it's fantastic. You know, he's won 2 QE2s, he's won a Hong Kong Cup, he's won a Hong Kong Derby. They're all over a mile and a quarter, 2,000 metres. And you would say that he has to be able to, you would think, get that extra distance. However, he has to settle. And there's a couple of new things, or one important new thing, and that is that Zach Purton takes over for the first time. Now, Zach's ridden him in track work. He's become very acquainted with him. He's ridden him quite a few times, but not in a race, and certainly not over a mile and a half, 2,400 metres. So it's going to be a test of horse and rider. I think if he can switch him off, and don't forget he does run keenly, this horse, by his very nature. But if he can get him to switch off, he's going to, well, he should just run away with it. He's just so far ahead of them on ratings, and he's number 4 in the world behind Equinox and Golden 60. You know, he's a very, very good horse, and I'm not going to be tipping against him. I can tell you that.
Look at some of these horses that are coming out of the main mile and a half lead up, which was a handicap. That is the Queen Mother Memorial Cup. As you say, a lot of them have a lot to find on ratings, but they're the types that once you get up to that mile and a half trip, they seem to find another leg.
Yeah, and those ratings they would be modified. If those ratings were only for 2,400 metres, they would be very different. So you don't go strictly by the book, because horses like Panfield, they're going to run much better over 2,400 metres. Russian Emperor should be running much better over 2,400 metres. And also Straight Aaron, I think, should also be measuring up to that 2,400 metres certainly after his win in the Queen Mother. But one very important factor here, and that is that it was a rain-affected track when he won the Queen Mother, and certainly his lightweight, he had only 115, 16 pound that day. That lightweight was a huge advantage in the closing stages of a staying contest, and he does handle soft ground. So take that out. We're back. We should have a pretty well a normal Hong Kong track. Even so, he's he's Russian Emperor and Straight Aaron. I think they're both going to run well, but I do think that Romantic Warrior is going to be the one to beat. Russian Emperor, I don't know what you think, but he's had a very, very big overseas campaign. Is he going to strip? I know he's going to be fit, but is he going to be stripped as fit and as bouncy as he usually is?
I think it's a big query. As you say, he has had a long season that was centered around that trip to the Middle East where he won in Qatar and then had the 2 runs in Dubai. It is a big ask to ask him then to come back and perform to that level. I thought he ran okay in the Queen Mother Memorial Cup under a big weight, but it is going to be a big ask. I guess the other horse that is of note here, coming from the same form line as Romantic Warrior, albeit beaten 3 lengths, was Money Catcher, likely to be out in the speed. Is he any sort of hope of being able to hold on for some minor money?
I think you'd definitely be putting him in the first 3. If you're taking multiples, he's racing very, very well, isn't he? And he's certainly improved on his New Zealand form. He ran a couple of placings there, and behind Rocket Spade. Well, Rocket Spade hasn't really performed in Hong Kong, and yet this horse has just gone ahead leaps and bounds. So, yeah, I would certainly think that he could definitely get into a place. But, it's a really competitive race on paper. And
as you say, definitely competitive, but competitive behind Romantic Warrior. I'm guessing Romantic Warrior is the way you're going?
Yep. I'm taking the punt that he'll get the 2,400. I'm taking the punt that Zach, the 5-time champion, is going to be able to settle him. And he's drawn 8. I hope he's not stuck out on a limb. I hope he can get a bit of cover. And I think he'll run away with it.
Romantic Warrior does look the one to beat. I agree. I have to think Romantic Warrior will be taking out this year's Champions and Chater Cup ahead of potentially a big campaign. And the owner saying after the QE2 they're looking at taking on Equinox in Japan in October, which would be quite the challenge there.
Yeah, it'll be great to see. It's that's what you love in international competition. It's very, very hard to get a really accurate guide weighing them up from different jurisdictions. So let's hope it does take place.
Looking forward to that potential clash at the end of October. We'll move on to race 9. Now, all of these races are named after previous winners of the Champions and Chater Cup. Race 9 named after Vengeance of Rain, who went over and won the Shima Classic, also winning a Champions and Chater as well. I think it was 2006 from memory, or 2005. It might have been 2005 when he won that Champions and Chater. This is a Class 2 over the 1,400 metres. And we see 2 John Size horses stepping up here after impressive last start wins. Red Lion really couldn't have been much better in taking out the Hong Kong Macau Trophy against the visitors there and beating his stablemate Beauty Eternal. And Eremo as well, stepping up in grade after a dirt win last time out, but it was a big win on the dirt, Jim.
Yeah, big win. And John Size is a master at this, isn't he? He gets them rolling and then he likes to bump them up a class and just on a light weight. Eremo would be very dangerous in my opinion. But this is a race with a lot of depth and with a lot of questions to be answered. Number 6, Flagship Warrior, trained by David Hayes, Vincent Ho to ride. Now, do you remember when he arrived in Hong Kong, he won first up over 1,200 metres. He started from barrier number 14, the extreme outside. It was a Class 3, 133 pound he carried, and he came from last. It was an absolute fantastic run. It was a withering run, and he got up and won on the line. Now, of course, they went down the path looking for classics and all the rest of it. That has gone by the board. He's had a spell since the Derby, and now he's fresh. He's first up and drawn barrier 2. I think that he's going to run a very, very big race. Hayes' horses are in good form at the moment. He's having a good time of it. So I would say Flagship Warrior is the one here. But a very competitive race. Red Lion, you mentioned, he's a class horse and he's now at the top of his grade. However, probably more improvement in him. And as you say, he comes off the back of that win in the Hong Kong Macau Trophy last time. However, that was on a rain-affected track. This is going to be very, very different. And the other one, I think, if you are looking for a bit of value, is number 4, Tully Bagil, who won twice for Huey Bowman, and now has another change of jockey. Mickey D comes in to take the ride. Michael D. Now, he had a sensational start to his Hong Kong career on Wednesday when he won with his first ride. It's pretty hard to do, but of course it captures all the headlines. It does the right thing. So he's up and rolling. He's there for 7 weeks in Hong Kong. So he might be a good change of jockey for Tully Bagil, who I think can run a very big race.
And Michael D, he's had a big season down here in Australia, winning the Caulfield Cup on Durston, the Victoria Derby on Manzois, a couple of other Group 1s, the Cornwall Classic on Espiona, and it's been great to see him get out of the blocks very quickly there in Hong Kong. And as you know, Jim, you've seen plenty of jockeys come and go over the years, and it really is important to get that first win on the board really quickly to get that rub that you get from positive reinforcement among owners there that you have the ability to make it in Hong Kong.
And of course, as you know, Andrew, it's a fact that he would be classed a lucky jockey by owners and punters, and that's all important in Hong Kong, the luck. Don't forget also that the reason the Hayes connection, I'm sure, has been renewed through their Blue Diamond success. Ben Hayes and JD Hayes, they both had both training together in Melbourne, and they won the Blue Diamond. So yes, he's red hot at the moment, Mickey D.
That's right. Little Rose winning the Blue Diamond. You talk of jockeys considered lucky, though. Vincent Ho, it was his birthday this week. Maybe not so lucky on Wednesday, having to sit out the meeting, but he's definitely got that rub of being considered lucky across the season with his association with the Golden 60 and Flagship Warrior. It's funnily enough probably who I would have been putting forward myself, because as you say, that big win first time out, the former Harley Movin'. If he can reproduce that, you'd think that he's going to be the one right there in the mix and potentially overlooked by the market. Is Flagship Warrior the way you're going, Jim?
I'm going 6 Flagship Warrior to beat 1 Red Lion and 4 Tully Bagil.
6 to beat 1 and 4 in the Vengeance of Rain handicap race number 9. We move on to the 10th. This one coming up at 5:15 local time, which, if I can do my sums right, would be 10:15 UK time. This one named after Oriental Express, who was a remarkable horse, won the Champions and Chater twice, and we were looking at his race record recently, Jim. Amazing being able to come out of after running second in the Chairman's Sprint Prize the week before, and coming out that being over the 6 furlongs, coming back out over the 12 furlongs a week later and winning the Champions and Chater.
Yeah, bizarre, absolutely bizarre. And I don't know whether you could call that astute programming, but he got away with it.
That he did. The irreplaceable Ivan Allen, his trainer there, Oriental Express. Again, we look at Class 3 company here, 1,200 metres. And quite a few here who are lightly raced, including the likes of Dancing Code, who was very good for Casper Founds. He's owned by Hong Kong superstar Aaron Kwok, who always creates quite a splash when he ends up at Sha Tin. But this is a race, a typical Class 3 sprint race, where you could probably make a case for every runner here, especially as we get towards the end of the season, Jim.
Yeah, and I think this is where it really gets interesting in Hong Kong. I know these horses go around all the time, and you might think to yourself, it must get fairly sort of mundane, really. But at this time of the year, a lot of the imports, the lightly raced imports, are starting to come to themselves, are starting to acclimatise, and also they just get their chance because they're on a fairly good mark and other horses have gone up in the handicap. So you referred to a few there, Dancing Code, Solid Shalar is another one, 80 Light Years. These are horses that are still pretty well undercover at the moment. We don't really know their true level, and they could all be very, very dangerous. We've also got a very interesting and a very tricky race. We have a horse who's pretty well established now. That's number 1, Supreme Lucky, trained by Danny Shum and ridden by Zach Purton. Now, this 4-year-old by Deep Field, he's won 3 of his 7 starts in Hong Kong, and he's gone up a total of 25 pounds in the handicap since he started. So he's still on the upward climb, and I think he can definitely win his way to Class 2. When they get up to this weight, though, it gets very, very hard for them in any class. However, I think he's got the class, he's just got that little bit of extra clout, I think, compared to some of the newcomers. So I go for 1, Supreme Lucky. Dancing Code, I thought is shaping quite well, showing a lot of promise. Solid Shala, number 8, Mickey D for David Hayes. I think this is one to really take note of. A horse who's, I think, pretty well placed on his present mark in Class 3, and one that I tip will go a lot higher.
Number 1, Supreme Lucky, though, the choice there. I'm just, I was looking at him earlier, and it's amazing. A horse just keeps drawing double-figure barriers. You don't often see that in Hong Kong, where you keep getting that poor luck with the barrier draw, and yet, as you say, being able to win 3 from 7, it is going to be tough at the top of Class 3. But
he's won from his last 3 starts. He started from 11, 13, and 13. And now he starts from 11. You'd think you'd have to do better than that, wouldn't you?
You would. But look, he's got the talent, and there's no doubt that whether it's on Sunday or whether it's come the new season or before the end of this season, we'll be seeing him in Class 2 before too long. And we move on to the final event now. This one also Class 3, this over the 1,600 metres, and named for Indigenous, another of these Champions and Chater winners. He won it twice, and he also won a Hong Kong Vase, was second in a Japan Cup. Really quite an amazing stayer, and was for a long time the only Hong Kong horse to have won the Hong Kong Vase until Dominant was able to do it in 2013. We look at this Class 3 again. It's one of these really open events, which is why we find it towards the back of the card. The Hong Kong Jockey Club loves having these open contests as part of their
impossible contests.
These impossible contests. They love to be able to ensure that it's quite the challenge later in the card for treble betting and for other betting opportunities there in Hong Kong. And I think you've just summed it up, Jim. You look at this race, and where do you start?
Exactly. Where do you start? Ching, you might start with Ching, who's number 1, right at the top. Ching is terrifically consistent, but again, creeping up in the weights, drawn 12, and all these things come into it. The stalls draw is terribly important, and even at 1,600 metres when they have a fairly good run to the first turn. I thought Powerful Wings, I liked him. However, he's drawn off the track. Alexi Bedell for Ricky Yu, who's now broken a drought and come back to the winners list during the week. And also Helene Feeling. Now, Helene Feeling won for Danny Shum. I think Danny's going to have a good day, on Sunday. Helene Feeling raced as Indian Dream by Sioux Nation. Indian Dream trained by Michael Bell here in the UK. Won at Doncaster Nursery and showed a lot of promise here, and has gone there. And in Class 3, you would think that he's still got plenty of pounds up his sleeve. So, I think he's racing well as well. So I think he's got to be very, very hard to beat. But it is a very tough race. The draw is going to be very significant. Having said that, my 3 selections have drawn 11, 12, and 13. So I go Helene Feeling to win from Ching, and Powerful Wings as my next best.
That's Helene Feeling, Ching, and Powerful Wings, 3, 1, and 4. But as you say, look, it's that sort of a race. Anything can happen, and it is an A-course meeting as well, which tends to mean that you've got more space to work with. You've got more space to be able to hopefully get into a position, and also to be able to wind up down the outside as well, come to the straight. So, look, as I say, it's a race where I would struggle to find to find one there, and that's what you want. You want these challenges to be able to dive into. So we've had a look at the final 4 races on the card. Jim, are you able to recap your selections across those 4 races, as well as anything else that caught your eye on the card?
Yeah, race 8, I go for number 1, Romantic Warrior, taking the sort of gamble that he will get the 1.5 mile strongly. I go for 1, Romantic Warrior, to beat 5, Panfield, and 6, Straight Aaron. Race 9, which was the second one we had a look at, I go for number 6, Flagship Warrior, to win for Vincent Ho and David Hayes, to beat 1, Red Lion, and 4, Tully Beguil. Race 10, I go for number 1, Supreme Lucky here for Zach Purton and for Danny Shum, to beat 5, Dancing Code, and number 8, Solid Shalar. And in the finale, race number 11, I go for 3, Helene Feeling, to beat 1, Ching, and number 4, Powerful Wings. So 3, 1, and 4 in the final race on this 11 race card. And it's a really good card, this championship card here at Sha Tin on Sunday.
Yeah, definitely worth getting up. It's not going to be too early, thankfully. It's a 4:05 p.m. a 4:05 p.m. feature, which means that you can get up, have plenty of time to watch some of those earlier races leading into a 9:05 a.m. Sunday morning start for the feature leading into these 4 races. So really is worth watching for what is the final Group 1 of the year in Hong Kong, or of the season, I should say. Group 1 racing returning again in December. Thanks very much for your time, Jim. Best of luck on Sunday, and hopefully you manage to find a winner there.
Hopefully, and thank you, Andrew. I think Flagship Warrior might be the one to head us in the right direction.
That's who I'll be following too. So let's hope, Jim, that's the one that will steer us in the right direction, as you said. And thank you very much for joining us. Just a reminder, if you do have a bet on Hong Kong, remember to gamble responsibly.